Hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Alon.
and welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, dads, fathers, young adults, wives, mom, who's ever out there listening to us, we just want to welcome you into this episode today. Thank you for joining us. We got a fun ride planned ahead. And as always, it's good to be with my partner, Alon. Thanks for being here today and for lending us what's ever going on in your mind, your experiences, your wisdom. It's going to be better because you are here. I just know.
Yeah, you know what? Likewise, this is good. I have my coffee. You have your water. We are excited to be here and to start what we've always wanted to do, which is just a conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so welcome to everyone out there. And Mark, thank you, and you're welcome as well. Thank you. You're a good friend. I appreciate you.
And listeners, if you want to be part of this conversation, rather than just listen to Alon and I have one, which has been the goal the entire time, right?
Yes.
Like this is an expanding, broadening conversation. Feel free to engage with us on our socials at The Next Man Up 1, Facebook and Twitter, as well as you can email us questions, suggestions, feedback, whatever thoughts you have. Our email address is feedback@thenextmanup.com. So we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So I was having coffee with somebody the other day, which is a common occurrence to me. You know this. It's a great way to connect with someone. Often it's somebody that I sort of know, but don't really know their full story, their backstory. Sometimes I'm collaborating with people. Other times it's just like, hey, we haven't caught up in a while. Let's get coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm having coffee with someone the other day, and I knew he was going to ask this question because he had suggested it as we were putting the appointment together. But he's like, Mark, I'm really interested in what you guys are doing. I've got a boy who is, I think he's 9 or 10 years old. I can't remember exactly, but sort of in that middle to late elementary age. And he's like, I'm really intrigued by this whole thing that you guys are doing and the impact that it can have on boys.
Cool.
And then he said the question that I have gotten frequently, which is, but I don't know how to get started. What would you recommend? So I thought that we could spend the episode today just helping to answer that question, because I'm sure that this dad is not alone, that there are I know there are others out there. Maybe, in fact, as you are listening to this, you're thinking of somebody or some bodies who would benefit from this episode. Dads are intrigued by the idea. They just don't know how to really get started. Yeah. And so that's where I thought we could begin today and explore and see where it takes us.
Yeah, I'm curious to as to what you may have shared with him or what your thoughts are as far as like how do you begin?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Okay, Mark. How do you begin?
Yeah, no, so it is a big question. And so I had brought him some materials that we use in our workshop, because he and I had been collaborating together on something else and had a good working relationship. And I'm like, well, here's a framework that we use to get started or help dads to kind of build an outline, a skeleton of what this might look like. But even before we go to that, he was already familiar. He had listened to some of our episodes. We'd had a couple conversations already. I think it would be beneficial to even back further upstream to be like, okay, what are you guys doing as part of the Next Man Up, and what is this idea of rite of passage? I've not heard of that before. It's intriguing. It's that I think is the first question that I would like to unpack and start to dialogue about. What is a rite of passage? It wasn't so long ago that we kind of just understood this societally and culturally because it's what we did. It might not have even been formally formally codified. But culturally, people understood this is the process that a boy goes through in order to become a man. And today we've put language around it. It's an initiation rite, or it's a rite of passage. But back then, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever it was just was part of the growing up process that we've lost along the way.
Yeah, it was like the back of your hand. It just happened.
Yeah, like just this natural progression. So as we're thinking about what is a rite of passage, it is as simple as a process that takes a boy into adolescence and then ultimately into adulthood. Now, adolescence, that's a relatively new term culturally or sociologically. But if you think of it in the progression of the young boy to the pre-teen-ish boy to the teen boy to the post-teen boy, that's the progression that we're talking about. How does a boy go from being a boy to a man? When does it happen? How does it happen?
Yeah.
And it's something that we used to do fairly naturally, like you said, like the back of the hand, because it showed up in an agrarian society where dad is the farmer. As soon as the boys were old enough to start helping in the fields, they started working, right?
Yeah.
And the expectation or the assumption or the training was that as you get bigger or stronger or more mature, as I can trust you more to do some of the things that I'm doing, I, as the father, am going to pass some of these off to you to do. And as a result, you will take on some of the responsibilities of quote unquote manhood as I pass them to you and as you grow into that. And then at some point, you are fully functioning just like I'm fully functioning. Now, maybe not with all the experience and the wisdom.
Sure,
and
yeah.
That comes through time and through years, right?
And through life.
And through life. But you've got the skills, you've got the training, and I trust you in a way that I will invite you into these tasks, this work. Be my partner here instead of just my son that I tell what to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I like that.
So it is interesting that as we look across the landscape today, there aren't too many places where this still happens. And a handful of them that I can tell tall tales on and stories for a while. The ones that I'm most familiar with are all in more primitive societies or cultures. They're not so much in the Western advanced cultures as they are in the more primitive cultures. And I remember when I first got introduced to this idea, it was the land divers. I think I've told that story here in their ritual, their ceremony called the Nagal. But I was fascinated, and I'm like, hold on a second. This is the 2000s, right? We're into the 2000 millennia, and people are still behaving like this.
Oh, yeah.
But then I realized this has so much significance, so much importance. It's so pivotal in their society for more than just initiation, but it serves as an initiation process for boys to become men. Now, we may disagree with the approach. I'm talking about boys and men with vines tied to their leg diving off rickety hand-constructed towers of 80 to 90 feet tall. And if you walk away with both legs, if you get up and walk, you've proven your manhood or you've become a man in the process. And we don't advocate. I can see your wheels spinning. Okay, Mark, tell them we don't advocate this. No, we don't advocate the practice, but we celebrate the concept.
Yeah.
And the idea of helping our boys to understand what manhood looks like and guide them through the process to get there. That is the power of a rite of passage, and we've lost it. We just have lost this whole concept, and we've evolved past it in our society. And part of, I think, the opportunity that we have, and certainly what we're about here at The Next Man Up, is to recapture that and bring it back into the tool set of a father so that he can work with that and leverage that and draw from the ancient wisdom, but do it in a way that's more contemporary, that's more customizable, that's more unique to both father and son. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of talking. I'll pause here and just give you a chance to react.
I'm intrigued. No, it's good. It's funny when sometimes I think you take off like a Discovery Channel host. And I'm just your sidekick holding the coffee, just listening with total intriguement.
Just without the British accent, right?
It's awesome, man. I dig it. No, it's interesting because, like, you know, it's such a great way to pass, like you said, to pass on wisdom, not even just pass down, but pass on wisdom of like legacy, lineage, and it creates just this like sense of I'm curious, but I'm thinking I'm trying not to assume, but I'm thinking that it would create this sense of excitement and not anxiety, but ready to take on this mission.
Yeah.
Like for the tension, boys in the community. Like, yeah. Like, you know, it's like, I'm going to be recognized as a man by not only my father, but also my people around me, my community. Yep. This will be the day. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And you know, I think of the movie, the first Thor movie, and you know, there's a sense that his dad's gonna pass the kingdom on to him. And he's just excited. He's shaking people's hands, like, you know, and for him, it doesn't happen that day. But like, I could see that happening for these boys, like in other boys younger than maybe the boys who are about to like finish their initiation, looking at them like in with awe and honor. Yeah. And I can't wait to do that myself.
Yes.
You know,
it sets up this expectation, right? That this is coming for me, and I'm getting excited, and I know what's coming. It may be difficult. There's challenges, but I'm ready because I want to take my place.
Yeah. And I've been getting ready.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I can name back the things that I've done that my father has pointed out, or the men in my community have pointed out to me that I have accomplished and shown me, like, you are becoming more of a man every day.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole communal thing. We don't have that.
We don't. We don't.
Not in a larger society of the, you know, U.S.
Certainly nothing consistent. I have filled a whiteboard before of answers from an audience to this question: when do you become a man?
Oh, dude.
I've got a whiteboard list, and I'm sure you could come up with many of them right now. But the point is, we fill up this whiteboard of all these different ways that the world, that society, that culture, that parents, that boys themselves say is how I become a man. And then you step back and look at that and think, oh my gosh, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
What is the way? What is the best way? Some of them are extremely destructive.
Oh, yeah.
But in the absence of clarity and direction, boys are just wired to find a way to prove their manhood.
Totally. Yep.
And there's a whole whiteboard. Mm-hmm. So what if it could be different? What if it could be better? What if we could rediscover this ancient tool?
Yeah.
And wield it today, like Thor's hammer. What if we could wield it today for good and for the betterment of our boys becoming men? How cool would that be? I know it captivated me. Let's see, my oldest is 19. It captivated me about 10, 11, 12 years ago. And that's what sent me down this whole path.
Yeah.
and having gone through it completely with one of my boys, I realized the benefits, the power, the influence, the significance that it can have. And I don't mean to say, let me say it this way, I don't mean to say my way or that this is the only way, but it's something that we have forgotten.
Yeah.
And I think it would be valuable for us to rediscover it and utilize it.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been just reacting to this question: what is a rite of passage? Where did it go? Why did we lose it? Even why does it matter? I think it matters because we've got a whiteboard full of ways that boys and adult males try to establish and demonstrate and prove their manhood. And a lot of them are just really, really harmful. And some of them are just, they're just paths that lead to emptiness or brokenness or misguided, you know, at best. Anyway.
And but what I think about is that we are thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's no clear path.
Yes.
You know,
that's an excellent point. It's in us, right?
Yeah.
Like we're trying to find a way, and there's no clear way to traverse.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we do with that?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do we do with all these different viewpoints and pictures and thoughts and whatever, which, you know, like you said, can be a lot of them are harmful, but, well, let me just cut to the chase. I think one thing that sticks out about a lot of them is that they're on this, like, what you get and what you can accomplish and what you can build.
Yeah.
And on down that line is what makes you a man. And I think a lot of that can crumble. A lot of that can fail. A lot of that really doesn't compute. Because if you look at a lot of, like, even like so-called men who are held up as like, dude, this is the man that you should be.
Right.
When you look at their inner lives, it's like, no. I'm so sorry. I don't want to be that man.
There's more to that story, right?
Yeah. You know, and so, like, what do you do? Like, where should you aim for then?
Yeah.
If it's not the outer, then it must be, at least for me, at least for what we like press on to here, is like we need to focus on the picture of that inner man.
Yeah.
You know, and what do we want that man to look like? Yeah. And who do we want that man to be? I have a graduation message that I teach. It's called Paint the Picture. And what I challenge young people to do when they're leaving whatever, whether it's elementary to middle school to high school, or high school to college, I challenge them to paint the picture of how they want, like, their high school years to be. Paint the picture of what they want their middle school years to be. Because if you don't pick up the paintbrush and paint the picture, someone else might end up doing it for you. And you may not like what you see, you know? And lastly, that there's people around that can help you paint that picture that you want, you know? And, you know, for me, like, I was jacked up from life's traumas, all the way up until like high school. And it wasn't until then that, you know, getting some good people around me that, I started painting my picture, and I changed my low grade average to a really high grade average, and graduated high school with a full ride scholarship to a college. But it took me going, you know what? I don't like what I see. I don't want this. This is who I want to be. And I painted that picture, you know, and I'm thinking, when it comes to, like, you know, what kind of man do I want to become? What kind of man do I want my son to become? I think we have to do the same thing. I think that we need to paint that picture. Yes. You know, and when we paint that picture, it needs to be like, what kind of a man, what does it mean to be a man to me? And then what kind of a man do I want my son like to be? And when you look at it from that angle and that viewpoint, wow, like, what a solid person we can help our son become. A man who is responsible, a man who is trustworthy, a man who is about the flourishing of humankind rather than taking from humankind.
Right.
You know, there's so many. You know what I mean? It's not, and all of a sudden it becomes more personable. Becomes more of less of just how much money you make or your stature in society or who you marry, or, you know what I mean? Whatever. It becomes personally like, are you a better human being than I was? Mm-hmm. You know? And can you be a delight to those around you as you pursue the best you that you could be? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, it really lands like in there for me when I think about like this, like, and when I put that star in the sky and I hold it up there and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I start walking towards that. When I put that star in the sky and I help my son see it and see his eyes light up when I start talking about the man that he can become, like that's a beautiful thing. And that is the journey of this rite of passage, at least for me and my son, you know, and I'm helping him initiate that, you know, and walk that out, and whatnot. And so I don't know if I just went completely off.
No, that's
but that's what I'm.
Yes.
The rite of passage. So rite of passage doesn't need to be like, you know, I got my son in armor and, you know, playing with swords, or you know what I mean? Like rite of passage is helping my son, not someone else's, my son, helping him personally become a man and the best man that he can be. Yeah. And when you think of it that way, man, it changes everything for me.
Yeah. And what you're saying is an incredible and important place to start, which is develop a vision for where you want to go, or where you want your son to be down the road when he comes of age, whatever age that is. What do you want that to look like? And then back that up to wherever you are today and just get started moving in that direction. You know, it's this idea that if you don't know where you want to go, how will you ever get there?
Exactly.
So put a marker, like picture a map on a wall, an old fashioned paper map, you know, like that used to be popular 10 years ago.
What?
I know.
Before Garmin?
Right, exactly.
Before Maps and Google MapQuest?
So picture this image of, I'm putting a little pin in the destination called boy becomes man and knows what man is. And then it's like, okay, now I can start to figure out a route to get there.
Yeah.
But you got to know where you're going first. Yeah. And if you let society define it for you, you're going to get all kinds of mixed messages. Maybe if you let your own upbringing define it for you, maybe you get trauma. Maybe you get my story, which was an incredible example, and any space in between. But what we're saying is step one is to create that vision of where you want to go and what it looks like, so that when you get there, you'll know you're there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like I've anticipated this for some time, and so now I know we're here because I recognize it. I know where I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second thing that I would say, just to give some tangible starting points to this question of how do I get started? After you've wrestled through this vision, this destination, what it, as best you can define it today, what it looks like tomorrow, how about sit down and have a conversation with your boy? Your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, your 14-year-old boy. At some point, they're too young probably to get it, at least in a more of an intellectual conversation. But sit down someplace and have a conversation with your boy. Maybe that's on a road trip. Maybe that's out playing ball. Maybe it's over a cup of coffee. I don't know. Whatever space where you and your boy can connect well. Set aside some time to do that, and then lay out the vision. Lay out where you see this going and what it might look like for you and what it could look like for him, and begin to set that that anticipation, that expectation, that bar, like, I know you're not there yet.
Yeah.
I know. But if we can do this and we can do that, and you're going to grow and change and evolve and mature, by the time we get there, you will be able to hit this mark, and we're going to celebrate it together. Like, cast that vision for your boy, and you get excited and get him excited, and see where it could take off from there.
And, like, I don't find anything wrong with, like, having memorials in life of certain things that are accomplished. Like, so, like, man, dads out there, like, even if you have a young boy, who's like elementary age or even like middle school age, and they're not 12 years old yet, but they're younger, and you're like, how do I get started? When you paint that picture, like, I want to encourage you, like, take moments where you see that picture coming alive in your boy and celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like, hugely.
Yeah.
And, whether it's like, I get him a hat. Like, I want to get you this hat because, like, you showed honor towards someone else, like, in life. And that's the type of man that I want you to become. Like, I believe a man is someone who honors other people. And it's like this hat, whenever you see it, whenever you look at it, like, know that you were given this because you did just that.
Yeah.
You stepped into this picture even more. Like, do that, because kids don't forget those moments.
They
I don't think. They
haven't, in my experience.
No. And even when they get older and be able to look back, be like, yeah, man, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when you lit that sparked that fire in me.
I still have the hat. I still have the thing, right?
Yeah, right?
Because it means so much to me.
And the memory of the experience lasts really long. So, if you're wondering, like, what's something small that I can do that. Yeah. Do that. Even a bracelet or a poster or a picture or something to remind them later on in life. Like, yeah, this is a moment where I started stepping into that picture that my dad had for me as a man.
Yeah, commemorate the significance, because it goes a long way. And those little gifts or reminders, they're attached then to the experience and to the emotion, and it can be extremely powerful. Absolutely.
Ah, man, cool stuff, dude.
Well, I anticipate or expect that if this guy that I was having coffee with is asked the question, there are others that are asking the question as well. And so that was the goal of this discussion, is to help answer what it is, where it's gone, why it matters, but also give some tangible ways to get started. Cast that vision, get a clear idea of what it really means to be a man. Wrestle with it, dads.
Yeah.
Live in that tension. Ask those big questions. They're bigger. They're harder to answer than you might think.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, go back a couple of episodes and listen to our conversation around masks and how we often define masculinity through these different things, Alon, like you were talking about. It's a hard question, but it's worth answering.
Yes.
So answer that question, and then invite your boy into that discussion and that journey and that process with you. And I'd be surprised if you don't have some good results and some good stories coming out of that. The other thing that I will toss out is that we often have workshops and events in the area. And so if you want to join with us, if you're listening and you aren't part of our community and you want to get signed up for our regular updates, you can visit our website and sign up there. It's thenextmanup.com. Or you can check out our event page. We'll keep that updated as we have events coming forward. But there are other ways for you to engage with us and with other dads along this path to really begin to put this process together in such a way that is customized and unique to you and your boy. And so we would just invite you to take advantage of those as they happen. Okay, Good conversation, good
Always.
questions. Thanks, my coffee buddy, for prompting the question and for giving us the inspiration today. And as always, listeners, thank you for journeying with us. And until next time, adios. Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.